The problem is there's too much we don't know. It's like opening a book and starting from the middle, or try to imagine what a jigsaw puzzle looks like when all you have is a few random pieces, right? And not even the helpful ones like corners or edges, just vague. The trick is you find two pieces that connect. Then at least you have a place to start.
Hello everyone, welcome to Geek Academy channel. My name is Igor and we are continuing to analyze the first season of From before the release of the third season on September 22nd. Today we're gonna go through episode 3 and I know I need to keep my pace up because we are getting closer to the release of the third season, but you know, life. If you haven't seen the first two videos, I'm gonna leave the links in the pinned comment because you're probably not gonna understand too much if you haven't seen those. And another thing I want to change is basically I rewatched my previous video and I kind of realized that looking at me doing my murder bird is not the most interesting thing, so I'm just gonna leave the link to it also in the pinned comment and you can check it out by yourself and see what sounds interesting for you or looks interesting for you. Anyway, let's dive in. One of the first things that caught my attention is when Tabitha is having her nightmare, she's actually experiencing a different kind of scenes that we have seen in the previous episode. In the previous episode we saw already from the beginning that the monster with the J sweater was in front of everyone, and here we can see that he's behind the bride, and here we can also see Tabitha is screaming and Julie also. Now Julie may be reacting here to Kenny shooting one of the monsters and Tabitha is screaming also to that, but once again it's not something we have seen in episode 2, so it's probably a huge stretch from my part, but you know, I just want to make it sound that maybe it's somehow connected to all of the illusion tropes that we already discussed before. I don't know, probably not, most likely not, but once again, if there is even a small chance, I'm talking about it. You decide by yourself already whether you want to take it seriously or not. Also here, this shot, when we are like zooming on the bride and the milkman and this lady, we don't even see the guy in the J sweater. It is definitely different. And you can explain it by saying that basically while you're sleeping and you're dreaming, you're not necessarily rewatching your life highlights. But once again, we're talking here about Tabitha and we know she's gonna experience some visions here in this place. So maybe this is something that can also be considered as a clue. Once again, I don't know exactly how, and this is for you to decide whether to take it seriously or not. Anyway, we're moving forward. You remember we talked about again about real brands, about fake brands. Some brands are real, some are not, and we also talked about that all of the brands that are inside this place, they are actually fake because they were created for this place. And we can see that whatever it is behind Alice here, it's actually General Electric. You can see here, you can actually read the electric part here. So it is a real brand and it is in Cromwell. It also looked like something from the 70s, 80s, like the rest of the technology here. So at this point I'm already inclined to think that maybe there's nothing behind it. But once again, the Krillman's Cola and the Renda's move, I would be really disappointed if it's just, you know, because they didn't want to use a copyright or something like this. Because it sounds to me kind of important and I hope it will be important in next seasons. Another thing that caught my eye is when Ethan is looking out of the window and he's seeing the boy in white, he kind of look like he's off and then he's turned on, he's smiling and then he's just standing like a robot. Okay, just rewatch this moment, he's just standing. And then Ethan is waving to him and he's like, you know, like those toys that are reacting to the kid. He was like, yeah, okay, now I'm on, now I'm waving too. See, Ethan is waving and he's like, yeah, I'm smiling, I'm waving. I'm not saying he's like some kind of a robot and he doesn't have any willpower here, because we've seen him taking initiative and doing things for our heroes. But once again, maybe he's just like an avatar, something that's being moved by a force. Maybe it's a good force, maybe it's a bad force, we still don't know yet, but the whole scene was kind of weird for me. Why he was standing like this, like he was waiting for Ethan to do something until he actually reacted. And we're moving forward. Jade here is acting like a douche. He's thinking he's in some sort of an escape room. He's saying this is not quite my Giacometti. We know this is something that Alice does. He's like the resident art guy in this place. He's drawing things, he's creating sculptures. Now Giacometti was an Italian sculptor, I think, who used to live in France. I looked at his works, I didn't find anything related to our topic here. Only if you look at those kind of figures, they kind of look like our monsters, but I think also this is a coincidence. And we also know that Jade used to live a lot in France with his grandma, and Giacometti is also used to live in France, and this is where he became famous. So there is a connection there. Anyway, we're moving forward, we can see another poems. We talked already about Edgar Allan Poe in episode 1 about Raven, and now we have Emily Dickinson, and we have two of her poems. The first one is Forever is composed of nows. 'Tis not a different time except for infiniteness and latitude of home. I'm not gonna read it, you're probably not gonna enjoy too much with my accent, but when I was reading about the poem and its meaning, something caught my eye. It suggests that all moments, past, present and future, coexist simultaneously, making the linearity of time a mere illusion. So we talked about illusion already a couple of times, and also the concept of time is being emphasized many times in this TV show. Like for example, when we see Jade's watch and Trudy, I think her name, she's like saying, yeah, he's not gonna need it here.
That's a nice watch.
Hey, just leave it alone.
Why? It's not like it's gonna do him any good here.
Yeah, it's not gonna do anything for you either.
And when we see clocks here at this place, they're usually not moving. Sometimes they somehow moved. I don't know exactly what happened, maybe something behind the scenes and not related to the plot. Also, we know that time flies here differently. When there's gonna be winter, we heard Victor saying that it didn't happen here for a lot of years. So the usual changes of fall, winter, spring and summer are not happening in Fromville. Time moves differently there. So I think maybe this is like a clue that there is some kind of time movement issues in this place, especially once again, if I'm gonna remind you about the battle tree, we've seen their years, and I don't know exactly if I want it or not, but there probably gonna be some kind of a time travel issues here. Anyway, the second poem is Hope is the Thing with Feathers. Hope is the thing with feather that perches into the soul and sings the tune without the words and never stops at all. Once again, if we want to interpret this poem, it basically says that hope is something that's been killed last. Okay, it's like in The Lord of the Rings when Aragorn tells this kid, like, there is always hope. And hope gets stronger when you are inside a storm. We already starting to see, even on the third episode, that this place enjoys hope. Okay, it probably feeds on it. Okay? This is something that Abby is gonna say to Boyd in season 2. We don't know if to take her words like truth, but still she said this, and we've seen Boyd is coming here to his pension, he's filled with hope. Kenny told the story about him expecting to start a life from clean slate, and then he saw the tree. We see Matthew's family trying to once again also start from clean slate. They lost a child and they want to get a divorce and start life from a new point. And if you're an entity or some kind of power that feeds on hope as emotion, this is basically like a practical thinking of somebody who does agriculture or raising livestock. You want to feed it as much as you can to make it as fat as possible, so you're gonna sell more or whatever. It's not like I support this, but you understand the logic behind it. So the same here, if you want to feed on hope, you want to put people in this kind of place where they feeling almost desperate, but the only thing that allows them to adapt, as Father Khatri said here in this episode to the Matthews family, they adapt here like somebody who lives on the edge, who knows that every moment a life can open up and swallow them. They living right next to the volcanoes, something like this, and they still adapt. They are still filled with hope. This is something that is basically their main motivation in life. And when you put people in place like Fromville, you probably gonna get a lot of hope, and you're gonna eat more hope, if that makes sense to you.
Worry about the little girl in a room filled with broken glass.
Now, if you remember in episode 2, Sarah, when she was talking to Nathan, she told him about a story about a girl who was in the room filled with broken glass. I asked ChatGPT what is the story coming from, and the first answer was it's from Lakota Sioux people, and it's something that usually told from mouth to mouth. It's not something that is written. When I pressed on that, okay, because I wanted to make sure this is actually correct, his answer was, you know what, I was wrong, there is no proof about it, it's probably something that I mixed up, whatever, so I didn't put it in my review for the episode 2. But once again, it was also very interesting that the first thing that ChatGPT went to was once again Lakota Sioux people. Anyway, it's kinda also symbolic here that when she was talking about a room filled with broken glass, we can see her actually trying to fix everything that she's broken. You know, like Kenny's mom here is dropping a glass and it breaks, and Sarah is trying to clean it up, and it's a very nice symbolism of what she's done to this family. She is the reason why her husband is dead, why Kenny's father is dead, and her cleaning this broken glass is probably not gonna help. So I just enjoyed this moment from dramatic and writing kind of point, from the creator's kind of point. Anyway, moving forward, we can see once again butterflies. We've seen butterflies in Sarah's room. We are seeing that Julie, she's wearing, I don't know if it's her clothes or it's already something that she found in Colony House, but butterflies again, and we know this is a rebirth theme. Usually when we see butterflies, it usually symbolizes some kind of a rebirth. I don't know exactly what it is, but let's talk about the Goollygook adventure, the Grand Goollygook adventure. Do you want to read it today, Ethan? And he doesn't want to read it today. Now, what's interesting about the Grand Goollygook and the Cromenockle adventures, this is not real books. They don't exist. You cannot buy them in your store or whatever you want. It's not even exist for ours fans in the store of Fromily or something like this. What's interesting for me here is a couple of points. First of all, we have eyes. Once again, the theme of eyes repeating itself. We've seen it already many times. Somebody's watching at you. Now, Goollygook is also sounds like Goolywog. Okay, this is a kind of racist doll, not even kind of, this is a pretty racist doll that was made, I think, in the 70s, and it depicted a very caricature portrait of African American people in the United States, so obviously it's very controversial. Now, another thing that's kind of connected here to this black spot in American history is basically Jim doing here crow sounds. And I know it can also sound like a bit of a stretch, but you know, Jim doing crow sounds kind of makes you think about Jim Crow laws, another very black spot in American history related to racism towards black people in America. So I do think, even though it can sound like a stretch, it is a nod to American history. Okay, we've seen it many times in this show that they are talking about American history and they are showing us not the greatest part of it. And I think you can easily argue that racism towards black people in America is one of the darkest points in American history. So I think it is related. I think it's not just something that people in Reddit or in YouTube found. But Ethan, like us, is not really interested in Goollygook. He is interested in the flight of the Cromenockle. And we know this is someone who is basically idolizes. He wants to be like Cromenockle, he wants to be as brave as her, he wants to go to adventures like she does. This is something we're gonna see in the next episodes after Sarah is gonna try to kill him, and Jim and Tabitha are gonna try to comfort him and tell him about Cromenockle, and this is something that's gonna make him feel brave again. This is, I think, maybe even season 2, not season 1. Now, this is something that can be just part of the game, but when Jim makes those kind of noises, he's saying she doesn't sound like that. It's a bit weird for me. I don't know, once again, maybe I'm just being here too picky, but how do you know? How does she sound? Okay, you don't know, you just read in the book. Unless you've seen her somehow in your visions or in your dreams. Anyway, we know that this is basically some kind of a lore. And we can see that Jim and Tabitha, they are quoting things from this book. They basically read the story many times to Ethan and they know it by heart already, and they're like, 2 Cromenockles for you, 2 Cromenockles for the cave. Cave is obviously something that is important in the story of Cromenockle. And we know that we have a cave here also in Fromville, and it is kind of important to the story. So what am I getting at to? It's basically, I think that Cromenockle is somehow retelling of the story that we are seeing here in From. This is something that maybe Ethan, through his imagination, makes come to life. I don't know exactly, but I know it's connected somehow. So we definitely gonna keep that in mind. This is just a clue. We don't know exactly where the sheep are coming from, where the cows coming from, and Jade is here talking about games, which makes me think that, you know, he was creating games. He talks about creating life from code or something like this. He created something amazing, some kind of startup, whatever. But if his mind in the place of conflict, in the place of crisis, when he wakes up and he doesn't understand what's going on, he's surrounded by people he doesn't know, and the first thing that his mind goes to is games, it makes me think this is something that he usually does in his life. Either he plays a lot, or he creates those games. For example, when I was way younger and I used to do a little bit of parkour, when I was walking down the streets, I was just looking at everything and I didn't see buildings, I didn't see rails, I see places where I could do some trick or where can I jump. What I'm saying this is basically the way you think makes you see reality differently. Now this talk between Ethan and Victor kind of make me a little bit once again suspicious. I'm not suspicious about Ethan, I don't think he's a bad guy or something like this, but it was a little bit weird. In episode 2, when he talked to Julie and she asked him, who do you wave to, what do you look at the window, and he said basically nobody, because the boy in white told him shh. So either he understands that nobody else can see the boy in white, or he listened to the boy in white and he didn't tell anyone because he asked him to be quiet. But when he sees some dude he doesn't know, the first question is basically, what you doing? And by the way, haven't you seen the boy in white here? And we understand here that Victor also used to see him, but he haven't seen him already for a while. Okay, so once again, there is a lot of resemblance between Victor and Ethan. They both were small kids when they came to this place. They are both seeing the boy in white, and they're the only ones at this point who can actually see him, because when Julie looked out of the window, she didn't see him. Okay, we know that Boyd is gonna see him, or Sarah, I don't remember who, probably Sarah. We're gonna get to the last episode, this is where we're gonna find it out. But only some sort of people can see the boy in white. And right now when I'm talking to you about it, I actually want to check if it's only those people that experience seizures here in this place. This is interesting, I think. Anyway, we're moving forward, and this is the point where Jade sees a vision. We don't know who that is. We see that his eyes are like the eyes of monsters when they attack. They're a bit blurry, or like Julie's, Randall and Muriel eyes in the end of season 2. The first time I saw it, for some reason I thought this is somebody who's wearing a uniform, but no, it's just a regular guy, once again dressed like someone from the 50s, 60s or something like this. This is the style, but you can see the short here, you can see like a jacket here. He was a regular, I don't know, Wall Street guy, or just some guy working in an office job in United States. He gives me some kind of a New York vibe, but once again I've been to United States only in the movies, so I don't know exactly if it is true. Another thing that has to be asked here is, where is the boulder come from? We know that this is a place where you can reappear if you went through a teleport tree, like something that's gonna happen in Julie in episode 7. And something that probably happened to Victor and his sister and his mom. And we also remember that Victor told us that sometimes you can get inside a tree and get out in the middle of a rock, or I don't know, a mountain or something like this, and you're gonna die. But how you can fit this kind of a big boulder inside the teleport tree, I don't really understand it. Something here is not working for me, and maybe you have an idea. Which brings me to something I wanted to say in the beginning of this video. I really enjoy your comments. Even if I'm not answering to all of them, I'm reading all of them. Sometimes I don't have like a good witty answer, but I'm reading every one of your comments. This is not me as a YouTuber trying to gain more comments because it somehow helps. It doesn't actually. What helps? Views. The more you watch, the more expansion, the more views I'm gonna get. Comments are not really important here, but I'm a human being and I enjoy communication with people who enjoy the same TV show like I do, okay? So for me, being able to read your comments, talk to you, maybe learn something, you have sometimes very interesting ideas about something that I missed, and this is something that motivates me a lot, so please keep writing. And this is the first time we have seen the symbol of those probably trees. We've seen already in season 2, this is how those trees are creating a symbol with those roots. Now we talked already a little bit about time, okay, that it's probably not flowing here directly. There is a clue here from Emily Dickinson's poem, there is a clue with the clocks, and there is a clue with, you know, like seasons are not changing like they supposed to change. Now if you look at them, maybe it's like some kind of different timelines, or maybe by parallel universe that are meeting at some point, and those points, like for example here or here or here, this is the places where something like Cromwell can exist. It's like between different timelines or between different realities. That's just a theory. I'm not saying it's true, but once again it's something to think about. Another thing that kind of bugged me here is they have some kind of a huge Jack Sparrow's chest here in this place, and nobody tried to open it and check it out, what's going on there. Maybe the boy in white is hiding there. I'm kidding, of course, but it looks like it has a purpose. They put it there for some reason. Why nobody still tried to open it and see maybe there's something interesting inside? Anyway, we're moving forward. Father Khatri's scarf. Okay, we talked about already in episode 1, we've seen the sun and the moon again, we've seen the trees and the crows or ravens again. This is something very symbolic, very related to this place. This is not something related to Christianity or paganism or Islam or Judaism, whatever religion you want to think about. This is not the symbols this religion usually uses, but this is something that's really connected to this place, where the omens and the magical things are the trees, are the crows, and the most important thing here is that you're safe during the day and you are very much in danger during the night. And another thing here is that when we zoom in, we can see this symbol of an amulet. It looks almost identical to the symbol we have seen on the talismans here, so it's basically from here. So once again, it's maybe something that's been created already here by those people, or if it's something that was found here. And the latter obviously more interesting, because if it's something that was found here, there was probably some kind of a cult or some kind of a, I don't know, community that actually worshipped this place and treated it like it's a religion, or it's a, I don't know exactly. Almost like Father Khatri, who thinks they're living some kind of a new book, New Testament or whatever. Another small detail here that is interesting is that look at Alice's pants. Once again we have crows, we have trees. I don't know exactly how many times we're gonna see this already, see this clues, but the creators think that's probably not enough and they keep showing it to us. We're moving once again forward and we can see again the message of hope. Frank here is about to get himself killed. He's about to make a suicide by monsters, and he's saying, remember what you're living for. Just keep hoping you are going to escape this place. And once he's feeding them hope, it's like, keep hoping. This is the only thing that keeps us here alive. And this is probably the only thing maybe that keeps us in this place. But this is not something that Frank says, this is something already what I say. Anyway, once again, forever is the sum of nows, the poem by Emily Dickinson, and we can see that the people who live in colony house, they are implementing it hard. When they say you want to live in the city, like you used to live, or you want to live in a colony house, in a community where we live for today because tomorrow is not guaranteed. So it's just a small moment that I really wanted to share with you. Once again, we've seen two candles. When Frank is getting inside the box, we're seeing just two extras standing here and holding two candles, and between them there is a person. Now we've seen it already when Kenny's mom, Mrs. Liu, was mourning her husband, to his picture and two candles. We've seen it again in the trailer. We still don't know who died, but we also seen two candles and some kind of a plate between them. So once again, this is something symbolic, and I asked ChatGPT if he knows which religion does it. None. Okay, not Christianity, not Judaism, not Islam. You can light candles when you mourn, okay, but nobody is like, yeah, it has to be two candles and something has to be between them. But once again, we can see it already. When it's 3 times, it's a pattern. Another interesting point, or maybe like some of you are gonna call it a stretch here, but when Jim is about to read about Cromenockle to Ethan after they got divided, Julie went to Colony House and they stayed here, he's saying, last time I remember it was chapter 3 and we were watching episode 3. Once again, similarities between those two storylines, between Cromenockle and what happens in Fromwell. I think this is something at least worth mentioning. Now, I also zoomed to the pages when he's like checking where to read. We've seen here that they actually created a real live book with drawings. It's a comic book. We see here drawings. I don't know if this small girl that we're looking at right now, this is Cromenockle, because we know it's a she, okay? When Ethan says, no, she doesn't make sounds like that. But for some reason, I always imagine Cromenockle as not a human being, but some kind of a magical creature. So maybe it's a unicorn that we are seeing here. I don't know exactly what it is, but I would pay good money to read this book. It's probably something like Lexington Letter in Severance that you read and you still don't understand anything what happens there, but I would still pay good money to actually read this book. And I think it also once again shows that the creators are very, very good with details and they are putting a lot of effort to create this lore, if you may call it like this, of this show. There are fake books, there are fake brands, and they want to tell us something, and I really hope that in the end of the day, when this TV show is gonna be over, we're gonna get all the answers. Now, this thing, the last scene here, I think it's just a bug. I don't think it's something that really has any meaning, but when Frank look outside of his, those holes in the box, we can see that one of the monsters is just like the boy in white, just stands there. And then time a little bit passes by and they start to move, but right now she just stands there. I think, honestly, it's just something that during editing was missed and people just didn't notice and it stayed there. It's just, I don't know, it's a mistake, but maybe it's some sort of the clue. Once again, there's a small chance that it is, but I share with you everything that I notice. And when the monsters attack Frank, you can actually see that they are even dressed almost exactly like the monster that Christy has seen in the nightmare in previous episode. Once again, it can be explained by, you cannot write a perfect script without missing something. And it's not me criticizing the writers, but it still forces me to ask a question. If everyone who has seen monsters in this kind of form, when they're about to attack, are dead, they're dead. Nobody survived this. Nobody survives this. So how Christy knows how do they look? Exactly like how they look. So it's just a question that's worth asking once again. You see, there are some things that I notice and I feel like, okay, this is something important. This is something that probably has a lot of meaning. Like you have this vibe, you have this, I don't know, feeling. But some things I kinda understand that I probably nothing. Like this monster standing there, or like the fact that Christy knows how monsters look exactly, to the point. But still I want to share it with you because I don't want to be that person that, I don't know, in season 4 or season 5 they're actually revealing to us something and I would be like, yeah, I was thinking that, but I didn't say it and nobody's gonna believe me. So this is why I want to document every crazy idea that comes to my mind. A lot of you watching the videos without subscribing. 90% of you watch those videos without subscribing, and there's not too much left for me reaching 1000 subscribers, and I would appreciate if you are enjoying these videos and you want more, not just because you want like to help me or something like this, but if you want to watch more of those videos and you enjoy those kind of TV shows like From, like Severance, like Silo, those TV shows that makes you think, please consider to subscribe, it's gonna help me a lot. And another thing, this is something that I will never ask you to do, but some of you actually pointed out to me that maybe it's time to open a Patreon page. I don't know exactly what kind of benefits or bonuses I can give you if you are subscribing in Patreon, but I opened it, a couple of you already subscribed there, so if you want to support what I do here even like financially, this is always only your decision, only if you feel comfortable, only if you helped everyone you already needed to help, your family, your charities, your friends, and you think about, oh, okay, this guy, I enjoy what he does in YouTube, I can give him like a couple of bucks a month, only then consider it. Okay, this is my request for you. For me to feel comfortable even talking about it, I need to say all those things. I don't want anyone to take something from their family, even if it's like a couple of bucks, whatever it is. First, you help everyone around you, everyone that actually needs help. I work for my living, I have money, I don't need it to survive. But if you want, only if you want, you can do it. I think I've said more than enough about it. So thank you so much for watching this video. I'm gonna go right now and watch the episode 4 and try to prepare for you the next video. And I see you on the next one. Bye!